All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at UFC 284, and that goes February the 11th. It is a flyweight fight with Kleydson Rodrigues and Shannon Ross getting out there and testing skills, and great having Shannon on the show for the very first time. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks, man. Training is going to plan, and obviously we get into the back end, the busy end, and yeah, everything's coming together nicely.
And just what a moment this seems to be, just readying for the UFC debut. It's a huge card in Perth. Can you put into words the excitement level? I would think this is a big one.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to put into words. Like, to debut on a pay-per-view 284 in Perth with the who's who of Australian fighters. Obviously, Alex, the pound-for-pound number one, Islam, the other featherweight interim title that's happening, and then all the top fighters from the Oceanic, Australian, New Zealand scene is it's awesome to make my debut and presence amongst them.
Yeah, and quite the journey getting here too. Like, I saw you had a throwback post when you were at Marvel Stadium. You were talking about like sitting in the back behind like the fighter families and stuff like that. Like, is it a moment you always thought would eventually manifest into reality? Like, you talk from like being, as like a fan kind of thing, like checking out the show, to being part of the show now. Like, was this something that you always thought would actualize into reality one day?
Yeah, it was 110% always my plan and my goal to fight in the UFC. Obviously, we've been through a crazy last couple of years with all the COVID and stuff happening, and almost thought maybe I might not get my chance to do it with all what was going on in that aspect. But stayed true to myself and kept working hard, and obviously went through the Contender Series and had a great fight there and an awesome showing, and the guys liked what they seen. So yeah, they've given me a chance to fight in the big leagues now in the UFC, and yeah, so it's all come to plan.
In a bit of a quicker turnaround in a relative kind of sense, like I was noticing your last fight came after almost like 2 years of kind of being out of the competitive picture. Like, obviously factors beyond your control. Like, it looked like a lot of like event cancellations, bout reschedulings, etc. But it probably still felt good to get out there after that, layoff period and get back to it.
Yeah, correct. So obviously, the last few years has been the COVID, and the events get cancelled, and we go into lockdowns over here in Australia, and we're pretty strict, and everything's pretty much everything gets pretty much shut down out of the flick of a switch. So yeah, we had some cancelled events and some missed fight opportunities, and yeah, camps that we completed, and pretty much we're ready to fight, and a week out it gets shunned, but that's all part of the journey. And now we're here, and it looks like COVID's it's starting to leave the world as we hope, and now it's full steam ahead on this next chapter.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of a post you had a few weeks ago where you were saying, on this day 2 years ago, I took one of the biggest risks possible at the time, just leaving Australia during like the prime of the pandemic, and just some of the factors with that, like how you were looking back, and just some of the other components of it, like being stranded in Dubai at one point. You had like a $20,000 bill to get home. It just seemed like there was so much to overcome both before and after that fight even. Like, what did you learn from that period of time about yourself and I guess your ability to really be adaptable?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty cool for me to look back on and see what I've overcome and see what I've beat to get to my dream. And obviously, throughout all those times, it's like the resilience and the character building that happens along those times is it's obviously key to be fighting on the biggest stage and the biggest platform in the world, which is the UFC. And I think going through all these hardships and building that resilience and that never give up sort of attitude it's just set me up really, really good to perform on the bigger leagues now. And yeah, so that's the big. It's almost a positive going through that stuff now, looking back on it. So these next fights should be a lot smoother and a lot easier, I hope.
Well, I mean, even the last fight kind of had that sort of tone to it in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, even with just, securing the passport, and that seemed like a rushed kind of thing. I mean, I'm a guy that has a lot of travel anxiety, so I was almost getting anxious reading through that. But that seemed like a relatively minor thing, even in the grand scheme. Just getting in the Octagon and the burst appendix and the subsequent surgery. I mean, that's just incredible. Like, what do you take away from all of that kind of stuff? I mean, that's quite the level of resilience for sure.
Yeah, like once again, man, just backing myself and building that resilience and that just that never give up, never die attitude. It's even the last one was insane. Like my athlete visa got denied, and then we had to reapply for an emergency one, and then send the passport down, and then that got lost in the mail. We missed our first flights out of the country. We got out a couple of days later. Then obviously we're in Vegas. Like I've got these stomach pains and stuff going on all week. I'm not really sure what it is. I thought I'm just hungry. Then post-flight, go in, have a ruptured appendix, go get the surgery sorted, and then look back on it now. It's like, man, I overcome all of that stuff. Now it should be that I can't catch appendicitis twice. So, and I'm not traveling out of the country, so there's going to be no passport issues, and I think it puts me in a really good position to come into this one the best version of me and just firing on all cylinders and having no stresses and be able to turn up and perform, and that's the plan now.
Yeah, and you're talking about that resilience, and that's something we've talked about in a couple instances. Like, is that a compounding thing that you've developed through your martial arts journey at this kind of a high level, or is it something you've always had kind of as part of your spirit almost?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, right? I think I've had that in me ever since I was a young kid, just trying to be a better version of myself, and growing up and playing sports and always being competitive and winning, and obviously building that resilience when I was younger. And then obviously MMA is a very hard game, and you take your licks in the training room, and a lot of people, they don't have that resilience, they don't have that character building stuff inside them. So when they're not winning, they're leaving the gym, they're not coming back, sort of thing. So you got to keep turning up, and as you do that over years and years, you compound that interest, and you end up coming out a very mentally strong character on the other end. And now I'm 12, 13 years into my pro career. I feel like these last few years have really built that resilience on top. So now I'm feeling good.
Yeah, well, that's awesome to hear, man. That's definitely most important. But kind of like drawing back to a previous point I was talking about, in the sense of like it had been a little bit since you had last competed. Like, I mean, barring like anything happening, like just in the sense of like an ideal outcome, like how many fights would you like to take on this year? Like, do you have an ideal strength of schedule at all?
Yeah, well, obviously now my only form of income and that sort of thing is just being a professional athlete now. So it's the first time in my career that I've been able to do that. Obviously, starting in the UFC, you're on the bottom scale of the pay, and that's normally how it works, because until you build that fan base and bring the seats into the stadiums, you're not getting paid massively. So I would love to have 2 or 3 fights this year, to be honest. At least, like, realistically 3 if I have no injuries and stuff like that, and we move forward through the year really smooth. Obviously the first fight in Feb it's an early one, so that sets me up really good for the back end of the year to get another 2 in at least, I think. So yeah, I'd love to have a busy schedule. I'd love to be back in the gym straight after the fight and training and staying fit and fresh, and then look to book another one.
Yeah, and I had noticed that in doing my research on you, just the fact that while you were collecting titles with like Eternal MMA and Nitro MMA, you were a full-time mechanic. Like, how has the, I guess, preparations and journey felt, like, just with this, like, being your sole kind of endeavor now? Like, is it a little too early on to notice how comprehensive the differences might be, or are you already noticing some, significant differences in your preparation, being that this is like the full-time sole kind of pursuit now?
Yeah, I'm noticing massive differences already. Like, just the 8 hours a day of not working and not thinking about something else is really giving me that freedom of training 2 or 3 times a day and getting the right recovery and getting the right nutrition and getting all the stuff in that makes up those little 1%ers. So then I can perform good at the next session and so on through the whole week. And I think it's been really beneficial already. Even like the last, just before Christmas, I was down in Wingdang with Alex Volkanovski for 4 weeks. So even having that option as like not working, being able to get away and train with some world-class level guys is that's phenomenal as well. And it's only building that positiveness and that thing to strive for more and learn and get better and perform in this fight and get straight back to the drawing board for the next one and keep looking at building on that momentum from here.
Yeah, it seems like you've gotten to work at some pretty, top quality spaces like CMBT Training Center, Freestyle, MMA. Like, it seems like you've gotten to work in some great spaces. And I mean, like you said, kind of like, working alongside someone like a Volkanovski. I mean, especially someone who's readying for such a huge legacy-defining fight on this event. I would think that there's a lot of just, good vibes, as it were, in the preparations.
Oh, 100%. The energy in the room is it's phenomenal, especially down with the guys at Wingdang, at Joe's, at Freestyle Martial Arts with Alex and the team down there. Like, the energy in the room there is just phenomenal. Everyone's working, everyone's training hard. Obviously, they've got a goal there. That's probably the biggest goal you can reach, right? Double champion, world pound for pound #1. So everyone's on point down there. And then I come back to finish the last sort of 5-6 weeks of camp up here at CMBT and my boxing gym, Platinum Boxing, and the energy in the room here has been awesome as well because the boys at Combat have been doing tryouts for pro team, and so there's a fresh wave of guys coming through that want to perform and want to do the work, and it brings that energy to each session, and it's going great.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious, like, in terms of how you, I guess, curate your camp. Like, are you someone who's doing, like, a fair bit of tape study on your opponents and then trying to find similar, I guess, body types and stylistic, proclivities, like that kind of overlap with who you're working with? Or how do you, like, curate the sparring partner dynamic, if at all? Like, do you do it that specifically, or?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely look at a bit of tape, right? If you don't, you're a bit silly, I think. I'll watch a little bit and then I'll let my team watch the majority of it, and then they put together a plan and come back to me, and then obviously we introduce training partners that are going to be similar in size, length, reach, that attributes, and then the same attributes as how our opponent fights. So then we start getting really good reads, really good vision, and put a plan together, right? It's great to be able to just turn up to a fight and win, but if you can stack the chips in your favour and watch tape and look out for these tendencies that people do and then capitalise on those, put yourself in a good position to win.
Yeah, well said. And just, in terms of like what you've seen from your opponent Kleydson Rodrigues, like, what do you think he really does well? Because he's another, contender series product, albeit in a earlier season. He's kind of readying for his sophomore UFC fight here, former Jungle Fight champion. Like, what do you think he really brings to the table?
Yeah, correct. So he's a recent contender series athlete as well, which is cool to see that I get to face off with a guy that's come through the same avenue I did. Kleidson's obviously he's pretty wiry and he's pretty explosive. He's got nice kicks, so we've been working a lot of stuff around that. Just to nullify and shut down that offensive kicking game that he has, and then we'll so we've worked out a few things. I won't go too deep into it, but that's where we've been working, and obviously he's good. He's there for a reason, right? We'll go out there, and I think our styles match up great. I think it's going to make an exciting fight for the Perth fans on Feb 12th, and it should be a cracker.
Yeah, and I was seeing a bit of a recent IG post. It looks like you're looking to drop an Aussie banger walkout song, and you're getting the fans involved. You have some good contenders that have been sent your way so far for the walkout tune?
Yeah, definitely, man. there's some pretty cool old school Aussie songs getting put into the mix. So I've got a full list, and I've got a playlist I keep listening to, and when the time comes right and I find the one that makes me feel perfect, I'll select it and I'll put it up to I'll let the fans know, and might even pick someone that chose one of those songs and swing them a free shirt or something like that, just to give back a little bit.
Yeah, I love that, man. And something I was seeing in one of the articles I was reading and kind of doing my backgrounding on you, it was saying that you walked into an MMA gym for the first time circa 2010 after like checking out some footage on UFC, like renting some, tapes and things of that nature. Like, what were some of the early kind of memories of that you remember really connecting with you? Like, was there a certain fight or even earlier fighters where you started kind of feeling that connection to the sport?
Yeah, 100%. So, you back in 2010, the only way to sort of watch the UFC out here was to go down to the local Blockbuster and hire the DVDs back then and watch them. And I pretty much fell in love with Frankie Edgar when he was coming up into the lightweight title picture and then winning the lightweight title, and those fights with Gray Maynard that he had. And yeah, that's sort of seeing him being the littler guy versus these big guys at lightweight, and yeah, he just used to smash through them and beating BJ Penn, and having those fights with Benson Henderson really drove me to want to be like Frankie, be able to be the small guy and perform and be able to take it to everyone. And yeah, that's what sort of got me like 100% committed to the game.
Yeah, and it's cool the sport has continued to like open up more and more with the different weight categories and stuff like that. Like, I find the flyweight fights are among some of the most exciting, just in terms of like the high fight IQ and the precision of the technique. So yeah, cool that certain pioneers could lay the groundwork and you get like that multiplicity of opportunity for people.
Yeah, 100%. I think these lighter weight divisions now are the fans that really starting to become more vocal on agreeing with what you just said. It was like the speed, the all the sort of attributes we as flyweights bring now. And not only that, there's a lot of flyweight guys knocking guys out unconscious with one shot as well. So back 10 years ago, the general fan, they just wanted to see the heavyweights sort of one-punch knockouts and see you later, and they weren't interested in that. But I think the fans have become really smart, and they know what they're watching now, and they appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. And something I also noticed, you seem like quite the proud dad. I also saw you had a bit of a fun post there where you were saying like other kids are on the jumping castle and our kid is getting in some ground and pound work. Does he get really fired up for dad's fights? Is he like checking them out, or do you kind of like tell him about it after and kind of sit down with him? Like, how does that all work out? He seems fired up about it.
Yeah, he loves it, hey. I think he's just trying to imitate what he sees so much of, and obviously that's me training and working out and pushing my body and obviously eating right and trying to be the best version of me. So he's seeing that firsthand, and I love that I get to sort of give him that opportunity to, even if it's not fighting, if it's anything in what he wants to do in life, if it's football, if it's soccer, if it's whatever, I just want him to have those attributes and see that if you work hard and you dedicate yourself, you can get it, and you can chase it. But yeah, at the moment he loves coming to the gym with me. He loves getting on the bag and doing some ground and pound and wrestling. He hits pads with me, and like that's obviously my favorite thing in the world is being a dad, and watching my little boy jump into the MMA scene is I love it. So we'll see what a couple of years hold and see what he wants to do then, and maybe he'll be the next version of me out there. So yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And then just, in talking about like loved ones, people that care about you, I imagine there's going to be quite the partisan presence there at this event. Do we have a lot of friends and family that are, coming out for this one and already have the tickets situated and all?
Yeah. So it was sort of hard for me because my fight wasn't announced before the tickets went on sale, so I couldn't really put out a big calling for ticket numbers and stuff like that through myself. So I've got my wife's definitely going to be there. I'm going to have some close friends and family that I sorted stuff out for, and then got a lot of other friends that sort of sorted their own tickets out on on the to get sales and all that sort of stuff. So there'll be a massive presence from down here, the Gold Coast of Australia, over in Perth, come Feb 12 for sure.
Yeah, I love to hear that for sure. That should definitely, galvanize the performance. I mean, you'll already be motivated, but good to have that, reaction and stuff like that. But always curious about the different, like, fighter nicknames when I talk to them. I'm curious, like, the backstory on your nickname, like, who kind of gave you the moniker, and, what's the origin of the Turkish Delight? I think that's kind of a fun one.
Yeah, so, like, my dad, he's Turkish. My mum's Australian, so obviously I'm half Turkish, so I think it sort of had a little bit of a play from there. But my first few fights, I didn't really have a nickname, and then we're at a fight one night, and the MC was asking, "Oh, what's your fight name?" I said, "Oh, I don't have one." And then about 5 minutes later, I see my coach sort of over talking to the MC, having a little giggle and that. I just didn't worry. I just kept warming up, getting ready, sort of thing. And then when I'm ready to walk out, they call it out, "Shannon, the Turkish Delight, Ross." And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what's going on here? So then I look at my coach, he's laughing, thought it was funny as. And then we sort of just kept it, right? We sort of just ran with it. Like you said, it's a bit of a fun one. It's a little bit different. The general sort of MMA guys, fight name, nickname, whatever you want to call it, is the Axe Murderer or the whatever. It's sort of like a bit savage, a bit hard, a bit whatever.
Yeah.
I like it that it's fun. It's a bit different. It's So we ran with it. We just stay with it. It sort of has that heritage background with it as well. And yeah, now it is where it is.
Yeah, I can appreciate a fun, lighthearted nickname, and totally makes sense with, like, the backstory, and that's kind of fun. I mean, I find a lot of the really good nicknames come from, like, someone who's close to you, and it's kind of like, ribbing you a little bit, like having a bit of fun, and everyone's kind of having a laugh at the end of it, so it seems like you took to the nickname well and all.
100%.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. But you've been really great with your time, and like I was saying before, I do want to be mindful of your schedule too, Shannon, so to that point, is there maybe... Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if there's maybe anything you'd like to kind of add as like a parting thought as we're kind of wrapping up, though, man.
Just obviously thank you for your time first and foremost. Obviously, it means a lot to be able to have these chats and interviews with guys that help promote us in the sport as well. Obviously, a massive shout out to all my coaches, training partners, all my sponsors that helped me get through this one. It's obviously the first time that this is my sole focus and income sort of way to earn money. So it's been a massive difference, and having good sponsors behind me has made a world of difference. And then, lastly, probably the biggest thanks is to my wife, Beck. She's always pushed me to be better, and if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be here in this position right now. So always owe her a thank you, and the kids for the time I missed out on them. But after the fight, we get plenty more time together, and should be all good and smooth sailing then.
Yeah, some great shout-outs there, and yeah, really excited for this UFC 284 card. Going to be a stacked one, February 11th, and this fight very much one I'm excited for sure. I mean, like, we're talking about a lot of interesting facets for this one, and I think you'll be able to, show a lot of skills in this one. I mean, yeah, it's going to be exciting, so thanks again for the time, man, and just looking forward to peeping the fight, but until then, you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Thanks very much for having on me, and yeah, appreciate it again. Thank you.